Discipline is what sets apart a mediocre person from an extraordinary one. The ability to go beyond others to have discipline is quite complicated. It requires practice and tricking your brain. As human beings, we have a primitive instinct that drives us to seek dopamine, a substance generated in our brains that gives us a feeling of pleasure. It makes sense as our brains reward us with pleasure when we perform actions favorable to us, such as eating when hungry, drinking when thirsty, and reproducing to pass on our genes as a species. Dopamine has allowed human progress, but it has a unique problem. It is addictive. We are not perfect machines, we have our flaws. For example, we age and die. In the case of dopamine, it is responsible for addictions like social media. We find ways to make our brains generate dopamine quickly and effortlessly, seeking instant gratification. The current world is filled with stimuli that trigger our need for instant gratification, and that is a problem. Most things that give us instant pleasure do not contribute anything positive to us. They merely provide pleasure. Our brain no longer generates dopamine when we perform actions that truly benefit us as individuals. Instead, it generates dopamine solely for the purpose of seeking pleasure. Once the need is fulfilled, we no longer have incentives to perform actions that genuinely benefit us, especially if they require effort. This is the greatest problem of our current society. People have forgotten the feeling of satisfaction after achieving something through effort. You may have experienced the frustration of wanting to do something, like exercising or starting a new project. Initially, when motivated, everything goes well, but as soon as the motivation fades, you can't continue. This lack of discipline is when you have the idea of having a fit and trained body, so you decide to go to the gym every day. During the first week, you don't miss a single day because you feel motivated, but during the second week, there is a day when you feel tired and you think, I'll go tomorrow or rest today. The same thing happens the next day. How do we solve this problem in a society that rewards instant gratification? How can we discipline ourselves to achieve what we set out to do, even on days when motivation is lacking? Well, we can learn from the example of Miyamoto Musashi. We can apply many lessons from his life and philosophy to become more disciplined. Miyamoto Musashi was a samurai born in Japan. He wanted to become the best swordsman in all of Japan, so he trained hard and traveled across the country, training and facing the best duelists of his time. It is said that he fought over 60 duels and never lost. In many cases, he fought against multiple enemies simultaneously and learned to use a sword in each hand. He was also a philosopher and wrote several books, including the Book of Five Rings, where he captured his philosophy and path based on discipline to become the best warrior in Japan. His life philosophy can be summarized in 4 points. 1. Reject desire. Musashi avoided doing things solely for pleasure because he believed it would make him weak and undisciplined. By rejecting desire or instant gratification, the only way his brain could generate dopamine was through effort and accomplishment. 2. Focus on one thing at a time. Musashi believed that focusing on and mastering one art could open up many different paths. He chose to master the art of the sword by working responsibly and constantly surpassing his limits. 3. Never abandon your path. One of the main reasons people lack discipline is impatience. Musashi experienced moments of doubt as any human pursuing a goal, but if you have a clear idea and combine patience and focus on what needs to be done, sooner or later you will achieve what you set out to do. 4. Live with honor. Musashi followed the principles of Bushido, the way of the warrior, which consisted of a set of conduct rules for samurais. Among these virtues, honor was the most important. It is self-respect, behaving with honesty, respect, integrity, courage, compassion, and loyalty. Acting with honor also implies not cheating and seeking shortcuts in life or choosing the easy path. By having a clear idea and combining patience and focus on what needs to be done, you will eventually achieve what you set out to do. This is the formula for discipline. It is essential to be realistic and understand that things may not happen as quickly as we want, and we will make mistakes in our pursuit of discipline.